Okay, picture this. A world on the brink of a total blackout. Global supply chains are fracturing. Conflicts are literally choking off the world's most vital shipping lanes. And traditional superpowers, they're just scrambling to keep the lights on. It feels like a perfect storm is brewing. But in the middle of all this chaos, there is one nation that isn't just surviving, it's thriving. It's like a fortress of stability. While everyone else is looking backwards, stuck on fossil fuels, China is already living in this high-tech, energy-secure future. They're not just part of the energy transition, they are writing the rulebook for it. So the big question is, how on earth did they do it?
Just look at this headline for a moment from Energy Terminal. This is the story behind today's video. China urges secure energy supplies amid airstrikes by US, Israel, and Iran. Energy security is of great importance to global economy, and all parties have responsibility to ensure stable and smooth energy supplies. With that said, let's go straight to the intro.
Well, the answer is this grand strategy, a deliberate, decades-long project to build what experts are now calling a shield of resilience. It's a plan so massive and so well executed that it has quietly but completely reshaped the global balance of power. Today, we are going to unpack the absolutely staggering reality of how China became the world's undisputed energy powerhouse. All right, let's get right into it, starting with the first pillar of their strategy, building the green future right here, right now. You see, while most countries are busy making promises, China is making moves. This isn't about some far-off goal. This is about an overwhelming present-day reality. And look, this isn't just some catchy slogan. This is official language from China's 15th five-year plan. The goal is to become a strong energy power. And we're not just talking about environmental policy here. This is a complete reimagining of what it takes for a nation to survive, a strategy for dominance built on total energy independence and being the absolute leader in technology. And this right here, this just shows you how serious they are about execution. Just look at this timeline. While the rest of the world was debating climate goals, China went ahead and hit its 2030 renewable targets in 2024, a full 6 years ahead of schedule. By 2026, they're on track to be responsible for nearly 60% of all new renewable energy built on the entire planet. I mean, that's a masterclass in getting things done instead of just talking about them. And it's not just that they're installing renewables, okay? They're basically building them for the entire world. Right now, China controls 80% of the global market for solar panels and 70% for wind power equipment. Think about that for a second. When you see a solar panel or a wind turbine almost anywhere on Earth, the chances are overwhelming that it came from Chinese factories and Chinese innovation. To really wrap your head around just how massive their ambition is, look at this number. 5 terawatts. That's China's goal for wind power by 2060. Now, to put that into perspective, the entire installed electricity capacity of the United States today is just over 1 terawatt. So just their wind fleet is going to be 5 times bigger than America's entire power grid today. It's a scale nobody else is even dreaming about. Okay, so let's move on to the next piece of the puzzle, because it's not just about wind and sun. China is also mastering one of the most complex energy technologies on the planet, nuclear power, and they're doing it on their own terms. This is the Huamlang 1. It's China's very own third-generation reactor, and it is a masterpiece of technological independence. The Jiangsao 2 unit, for example, is set to go online in early 2026. But here's the kicker, the really crucial detail. This thing is 95% localized. That means China doesn't need to rely on foreign patents or foreign supply chains. They are, quite literally, the masters of their own atomic destiny. So you've got green tech mastered, you've got nuclear power locked down. So how does China make itself bulletproof to the kind of global energy shocks we're seeing everywhere else? Well, they've built themselves an unshakable energy fortress, and it rests on 2 incredibly powerful foundations. While most of the world's energy is floating on these super vulnerable sea lanes, like the Strait of Hormuz, which are always at risk of conflict and blockades, China's been playing a different game entirely. They've built this incredible network of secure overland routes, pipelines that are completely immune to any kind of disruption at sea. And for any fuel they still need to bring in, they have a monster insurance policy, a national power bank of oil. The total stockpile is up to 1.3 billion barrels. To put that into perspective, that's more than double the entire US Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Let that number sink in. Let's just break this down. In late 2025, they were stockpiling oil at a crazy record rate. They have enough stored away to cover a full 90 days of imports. That means if every single oil tanker on the planet just stopped moving tomorrow, China could keep going for a full 3 months. This doesn't just protect China, it basically acts as a shock absorber for the entire global market, helping to prevent panic and keep things stable. But honestly, their real geopolitical masterstroke is what they've done on land. And the absolute cornerstone of that land-based fortress is a project that is just massive. It's called the Power of Siberia 2 pipeline. This deal was signed in late 2025. This monster pipeline is going to deliver 50 billion cubic meters of natural gas from Russia to China every single year. And the key advantage here, the whole point really, is that it cannot be touched by a navy. It physically bypasses all the global choke points and solidifies this powerful Eurasian energy bloc, effectively redrawing the world's energy map. So, okay, China has totally figured out how to get energy. But the revolution doesn't stop there. It's also in how they use it. They are building a fully electrified, totally intelligent supergrid that most other countries can only dream about. Okay, get ready for this, because this comparison is just wild. China's fleet of electric vehicles is now so enormous that it uses more electricity every year than the entire country of Sweden. That's how massive the scale of their electrification is right now. But here's where it gets really smart. They've rolled out this incredible technology called vehicle-to-grid, or V2G for short. They've essentially turned their massive fleet of over 25 million electric cars into a giant mobile power bank. So when the grid is getting stressed out during peak hours, these cars can actually sell their stored power back to the system, helping to stabilize the entire network. It's genius. And they're not just resting on their laurels either. They're already looking ahead to the next big energy hog, the AI revolution. Right now, data centers are causing huge energy headaches in the West. China, on the other hand, is already building the ultra-powerful smart grids and storage needed to power its digital future without even breaking a sweat. This quote really just sums up China's entire philosophy perfectly. They have transformed the green energy transition from something that's a moral should, something countries feel they ought to do, into a strategic must. For them, renewable energy is now a fundamental part of national defense and a major strategic advantage. So the big takeaway here is that none of this is happening in a vacuum. It's not a bunch of separate projects. From their 23 ultra-high voltage power lines that can send energy thousands of miles with almost no loss, to huge hydro projects that act like giant water batteries. It all connects. It all works together. It's a single, massive, intelligent super system. So when you add it all up, the dominance in manufacturing, the technological independence, the physical security of their supply lines, and that incredibly smart grid, the conclusion is just inescapable. China has achieved true energy sovereignty. And that leaves us with one final, very provocative thought. The future of global power is going to be built on clean energy. The infrastructure, the tech, the supply chains. China is leading in every single one of those categories. So what happens when one nation basically owns the on switch for the entire 21st century? Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive. If you found this as mind-blowing as we did, definitely hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss our explainers on the biggest transformations happening in our world. We really want to know what you think. What, in your opinion, is China's most impressive energy breakthrough? Was it the insane speed of their renewable rollout, their independence in nuclear tech, or the genius of that vehicle-to-grid system? Drop a comment below with your thoughts. Until next time, stay curious.